Professor Kim, the microphone is yours. Thank you very much for inviting me to this auspicious occasion. I feel very privileged to stand before you. I would like to thank the Master Hasu for giving me this opportunity, as well as the Abbot Hasu and the Hanmaum Science Center, especially the Master Hyo-chan and Vice President Daehaeng. Thank you very much. And also, I'm preparing for my article. The author may not be me because it was actually co-authored by a lot of people. So I had a lot of conversation and dialogue with a lot of people, and all the insights that I got from such dialogue are reflected in my paper. So in the sense, I believe that the paper is not written solely by myself, rather it was written by many people. I would like to thank everyone who helped me having this kind of insight, discovering that. As a religious study researcher, while listening to Master Haeyu's presentation, I found that her presentation was truly a joy, and I was impressed by her endeavor to explain about the Master Daehaeng's teachings. And also, the Master recently came up with the paper for the doctorate degree, and I believe that it has to be translated into English as early as possible, because time is our enemy, and so we really have to translate that as early as possible. So in that sense, I would like to ask for the special support from the President, so that her presentation or her paper could be soon translated into English. While listening to this presentation, it's actually the 70-page long, and the presentation that I'm going to have is a summarized version. And do you know where I got this inspiration? I actually met the Master Hae-chan one day, and she gave me the book. And the book was about the Dharma talk that was delivered between July and September of year 2000. And many of you, I think, haven't really had the chances to read these Dharmas, but there were really the precious jewels in there. And I was deeply touched by these teachings. So the Master, while working on Dharma, she worked with the Medical Science Department, Humanities Study Department, and so on. And sometimes she just burst into laughter. And I was wondering what this laughter means. So that was something that I contemplate a lot. And yesterday, Master Chango, so I had a chance to have dialogue with her, and I realized that at the Hanmaum Sun Center, practice is the core value. So understanding should not be pursued just for the sake of understanding. Knowledge should not be pursued just for the sake of knowledge. Rather, knowledge should be led to action. And action is not the end. Action will bring about a lot of questions. Then this will again lead us to deeper understanding. So this kind of closed-loop pattern, this is something that the Master Daehaeng talked about. And this is something that she realized from her own experience of meditation in mountains. And also, if you look at the dharmas of the Hanmaum Center seminar, it's not just about Buddhist teachings, rather
일반 제가 신도들한테 얘기했던 내용이 아니라
it's not just the Dharma teachings delivered to lay people. Rather, what the Master Daehaeng asked the researchers is to produce all kinds of academic terms that could be properly delivered and understood to intellectuals. But I think that she understood all the gist of the researches. And so whether it's the matter of affirmation or action or inquiry, I think for the Master Daehaeng, she knew, and she was really on top of these rams. But what she needed was the language to properly explain her concepts. And I think this is something that the Hanmaum Center is now working on, to develop proper languages to deliver the Master Daehaeng's teachings in an in-depth way. So the title of my presentation is A Soundless Sound at the Beat of Seon Master Daehaeng's Heart, Rhythms and Patterns. So everyone is familiar with this person, right? If you look at the researches on the Seon Master Daehaeng, so the Master Haeson made a big contribution. While she produced her paper for the doctor's degree, she actually made a new turning point to stimulate researches on the Master Daehaeng. But I always had this inquiry inside myself that not a single paper researched or studied the heart or the mind of the Master Daehaeng. So we talked a lot about the Kwanpab, and we talked a lot about her concepts. However, none of the research papers dare to deal with the mind or heart of the Master Daehaeng. What kind of things happened in her mind, and how she was able to be led to such a strong affirmation. So in that sense, I think that the Daehaeng's teaching, Master Daehaeng's teaching, cannot be properly explained only with the Buddhist jargons. And she doesn't play with words. Rather, her teachings are solely based on her own experience. And so her teachings, or she was not swayed by doctrines. In other words, she wasn't affected by the conceptualist illusions. Rather, whoever she met, or whatever she met, she was fully open, she was wide open, and she continuously talked about her experiences and make judgments and decide. So it was a sort of the continuous process. So while I studied the dharmas of the Hanmaum Center, I found that there are some recurrent rhythms that are presiding in all these different teachings. So we talk about maum or mind. And we talk about opening up of the mind. And I was wondering what this really means. And I believe that opening up of the mind will bring up the questions. So the questions on things that are ambiguous, questions on things that have been closed, questions on the things that I was not interested before. But then you open up your intellectual horizons and your mind to embrace that. And that's not the end. The Master Daehaeng really delved into the topic, and based on our understanding, she received, or she came to a sort of a affirmation phase. And again, that's not the end. Then she experimented continuously in a real world. And therefore, I believe that the biggest innovation happened when she went to Busan. At the time,
확증을 하고 계셨던
the
거예요.
Master
그래서 그
Daehaeng
안에 가서
had a affirmative understanding in a lot of things, and then she did the experimentation in Busan, and then she came back and she did check again, and then in 1972 finally she established the Hanmaum Sun Center. So if you look at the pattern of her life or her, you can see that it started from the questions or inquiry, then she was led to the phase of experience and experimentation, and then the affirmation.
행동으로 그냥 가요. 워낙에 마스터를 잘 하셨으니까요. 이런 부분이 당신에게 좀 있었지 않았나.
So I think that this is sort of the recurring patterns that we could find from the life of the Daehaeng. So in the sense, I think the whole life consists of some sort of kind of musical notation.
그래서 이 초신자들, 저 같은 사람이나,
so new believers like me,
제가자들 같은 경우에는 이 질문에서부터
or for
이
devotees,
행동까지 가는데 전부 다 느려요.
you see that it takes pretty long time to shift from the questioning phase to deciding. But when it comes to the Master Daehaeng, the speed is just instant. So right after the questioning, I think that she somehow mastered them, and she was right into the deciding phase, the final phase. And I think because she was constantly in dialogue with everything that surrounds her, so that's why she somehow mastered all this process, and she was really quick to the final phase. But for us, you see that we have to have some time to develop question and experience them and understand them. But the Master Daehaeng was different, that with her special training, in particular in the mountain, I think that she practiced a lot, and therefore for her this lengthy process is shortened, and her speed of mastering all of these different phases was really fast. So whenever she meets anyone, she was able to embrace them and lead them to have some conversion. And she lead them to the experience of oneness or the Hanmaum. That's why a lot of people burst into tears when they met the Master Daehaeng. Truly, I think that the one encounter with the Master was strong enough to revolutionize the lives of people. And it was because of her constant practice in the mountain. I think that one of the inflection points for her life was when she was 9 years old. So she came to a very important realization at the age of 9. And then after that, she kept experimenting her teachings and theories.
그다음에 이제 그 이분의 그 저거를 이렇게 쭉 보니까 그 안에는
And now here,
큰 마디가 있습니다. 그
if you look at
마디가
her
패턴이 있는데
life,
그 패턴이 세
you can
가지입니다.
see that there are some
하나는
apparent
완전히 기존의
patterns.
궁극적인 것에 대한 어떤 생각
So
자체가
the first pattern
새롭게
is
어떻게 변혁이 되는 그런
a
경험이
massive transformation of
그
her
경험을 제가
thought process. And this is what I call religious conversion.
이런 얘기를 하죠. 그래서 9살의 그 경험을
So at the age of 9, based on our experience,
하질 않았는데 굉장히 중요한 자료입니다. 근데 아직까지도 그
she had a very
부분에
important experience.
어느 누구도 좀 정교하게 스케치가 안 돼 있어요.
And so far, no one attempted to have in-depth studies on that. How she experienced this religious conversion. And the second conversion that she experienced was the moral conversion. I think that the Master Daehaeng was really kind even in her childhood, and therefore when she met the sick or the vulnerable, she tried to take care of them.
회심이 일어나고 조금 있으면서
But then after
이분이
the moral
실천으로
after the
갑니다.
conversion process,
실천으로 가서 산에
she not
이렇게
only thought
완행을
about
하시다가
taking care of these
자꾸
vulnerable,
내려오시잖아요.
she put them into
그
practice.
내려오시는 게
So
이 뭐 가족을 만나는 그런 것도 있지만
after
그걸 뭔가
having some meditation and practice in the
그런
mountain,
실험을 하신
then
게
she went out
아닌가.
to the field
그래서 그것이
to
가장
help
큰
people.
사건이
So I think
부산에서 일어났던
that was
그런
the
사건인 것
experimentation that
같습니다.
she did.
그다음에 또 하나는 이제 지성적인
And then the third
그
pattern that we could see from her
핵심인데,
life is
지난번에
the
우리
intellectual conversion.
그 대행선 연구원에서 아마 하셨을 때
I
어느
think that the last
스님께서
time when
뒤에서
Daehaeng Research
우리 그
Center
대행선사가 조금 그 이레이셔널하다. 근데 내가 볼
made some
때
presentation, some of the speakers said that
이분은
the Master Daehaeng is
교육적인 훈련을
irrational.
안 받으셨지만
So she
굉장히
wasn't
지적인
educated,
사람이에요.
but I believe she was very intellectual.
엄청나게 지적인
She
사람,
was very
인텔렉츄얼한
intelligent.
분이에요. 그러니까 뭐냐면 기존에 갖고 있었던 패러다임 자체를
So she
완전히
wasn't bound
리노베이션
by conventional paradigm.
그런 어떤
In the
그런
sense she was a
분이었다.
sort of the
그래서 이 세
reformist.
가지 패턴이
So with these three conversions,
대행선사의 이 리듬 안에 굉장히
I think these
들어가 있는
three
게
conversions are
아닌가
reflected
하는
in the sort of the
생각이
rhythms
듭니다.
of her life.
그래서 제가 이미지로
So in the
말씀을
sense,
드리면
I actually want to compare the Master Daehaeng to Martin Luther.
불교의 마틴 루터가
So she might have been the Martin Luther of the Korean Buddhism.
흐르는 그 엄청난 분위기 속에서 마틴 루터가 혼자
You know, the
성당에서
Martin Luther.
나 혼자 여기 서 있다.
He declared, "Here I stand." In the
가부장적인
Catholic
사회,
Church,
또는 불교라고
he
하는
wasn't
이
afraid
어마어마한
of a
소위 컨셉추얼리즘의
conceptualism, the
있는 그런
huge
분위기에서
influence
새로운 것을
and atmosphere of the
만들어낸다는 것,
conceptualism
이거는 쉬운 일이
and the religion. And I
엄청난
think it was truly a
일입니다.
daunting
그래서
task for him
저는
to
마틴 루터
stand
같은
against the
분이
Catholics
아닌가.
Church
그래서 이
at the time.
대행선사의 이런 메시지는
So in the sense, I think
어떻게
the Master
보면
Daehaeng is
아까
very
우리
much alike
교수님께서
with the
말씀하셨지만 인간뿐만
Martin
아니라
Luther.
이 세상에 있는 모든 존재들
Her teaching embraced not just the human beings, rather it's a teaching for every object and every organism on the earth. And in that sense, I think her teaching is like a musical note for everyone and everything. Her teaching is like a new wine. It's not the old wine. An old wine has to be put aside for a new wine. And in the sense, I believe that the Hanmaum Son Center will continue to inherit the innovating spirit of the Master Daehaeng.
그래서 정말 이렇게 언어적인 이 말의 어떤 이런 유희가 아니라
So we shouldn't just play with rhetorics or the concepts. Rather, we have to be led to have an in-depth understanding about the cosmic rhythm of the Master Daehaeng. And now is the high time for us to lend a serious ear to the Master Daehaeng's teachings. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
우선 대행 스님의 그 가르침에
So as for the teachings of the Master Daehaeng, I think that you gave us a very fresh perspective on how to deal with them and how to study them. And even the members of the Hanmaum Science Center couldn't really notice that. So thank you very much for bringing up these special and fresh perspectives.
읽으셨던 그 본문을 대행 선사께서 해주실 때
And so the Master Daehaeng talked about her Dharma 7 times, and I was in the audience when she talked about that. And then since that, a lot of time has passed, and now today, the Professor Kim said that no one dared to study the mind of the Master Daehaeng, and it gave me a sort of the shock, and I was truly awakened. And so regarding your presentation, I don't have a question, but I would like to make some comment. Which is,
대행선사가 보여주신 여러 행장
So the Master Daehaeng, she made a lot of accomplishments,
같은 종교인의
and
입장에서 보든지 제가
from the religious
우리가 이해할
professional
수 없는
perspective, or from the monk's perspective, I think that she somehow transcends the world in a way that we couldn't really understand. So everything that she did was revolutionary. You know, in this conventional religious community where the gender discrimination was so severe, she didn't care about the female's position, and she ardently spreaded her teaching. And I believe that what enabled her to have such reformist approaches, it's something that was going on in her mind, inside her. And in the sense, all the innovation and activities that the Master Daehaeng showed to us, and all the innovations that she carried out, I think that was possible because Buddhism is the truth, because Buddha is the source of life, and so it's not swayed by a single doctrine or the transient trend. And because of this understanding and realization, the Master Daehaeng, you see that she said that the material world and the psychological world come together and they go in tandem. And so in order to teach about the linkage between these two words, she talked about the 주인공. And I think that her philosophy and her 주인공 theory is actually what drives all the reform and innovation that she did forward. And so I believe that the 한마음 Center should delve into the legacy of her teachings and study in a deeper way. I would like to respond to Professor Park's comment. So at the 한마음 Science Center, since I'm sort of the outsider, I'm not the member of the Science Center, so in this sense, I would like to make this comment that if you look at the experiences that the Master Daehaeng went through, or the so-called like word of mastery that she had, I think these realms,
비즈니스 리뷰라든가 또 아니면 political science라든가
you see,
이런 쪽에도 얼마든지 제가 볼 때는
are something
드러내놓을 수 있는
that can be covered by business review and political science as well.
그냥 그대로 사용을 하면 못
So they are good enough to be dealt and explored as a part of the political science or the economics studies. But we have to use different terms and languages. That's why I think that the Master Daehaeng asked the researchers to produce the language to properly convey the meaning of her teachings. So while she delivered the Dharma to her disciples, she was very candid and frank, and she admitted that because I don't know the terms to explain what I think properly, so you have to develop the languages and the terms for me. That was her candid and frank request to her disciples. So this indicates that she has it was a sort of a very strong wish to her disciples. So while listening to her Dharma, I was very impressed how humble she was. And that's why I think that a lot of people who met the Master Daehaeng or who knew Master Daehaeng were
어떻게 이야기들이
touched
이렇게
and moved
살아있는
by her
이야기들이
teaching.
있는가. 그래서 이제 그런 부분을 조금 이 과학원에서
I
언어를
think
좀 하셔야 되지 않느냐.
the 한마음 Science Center,
개인적인 좀 생각이
one of the priority areas that it should focus on is to develop proper language to convey the teachings of the Master Daehaeng.
예, 다른
예,
질문.
그 말씀 관련해 가지고
So regarding that,
경험을
I would like to share with you my personal
experience.
experience. I think that this will help you.
그 가르침을 받은 지는 벌써 25년 전입니다.
So it was
제 경험은.
25 years ago when I received the teachings from the Master Daehaeng.
터득하는데 20년 이상 걸렸습니다.
And it was about the science, and it took me 25 years to understand fully what it really meant, although I was a scientist in material science. So I completely agree with why we have to develop the proper languages to convey the teachings of the Master Daehaeng. But I think that the language, it will take a lot of time to develop the proper language.
더 질문하실 분 안 계신가요?
Any other questions or comments?
질문 두 분 받겠습니다.
We have two
짧게
people.
해주시고 스님 또 질문.
제가 그럼 먼저 해도 될까요? 예. 스님께서.
So can I go first or the Master?
교수님 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
마음에 울림이 있었습니다. 교수님께서 저희
Your
성원에
presentation
해주신 말씀
gave me a very deep resonance.
제가
in my
오늘
heart.
교수님 발표 중에서 가장 마음에 남고
And
또
one
한 번
thing
더
that was
여쭤보고 싶은
very
내용은
impressive about your
주인공
presentation
관법에 대한
is
연구,
that the
여러 연구가
research is on
있지만
주인공 관법.
대행스님 마음에 대한 연구가 없다는 말.
And you said that
너무 마음이 아팠어요.
I was very saddened to hear that there were no researches on the
그 말씀을
mind
제가
of the
어떻게
Master
이해해야
Daehaeng.
될까요? 그 연구 내용은 과연 뭘 말하는 건지.
But when you said that there were no researches on the mind of Master Daehaeng, what do you really mean that? Can you please elaborate on that?
감사합니다. 대행선사는 제가 이제 그 어릴
So the Master
때부터
Daehaeng, even from my early childhood,
그 경험을 하는 그 펼쳐진 세계들이 있지 않습니까? 산이라든가 사람이라든가 이걸 볼 때 굉장히 이게 이 안에는 편견이라든가 이런 게
I
거의
think
없으신 것
that the
같아요.
Master Daehaeng had no
어릴 때부터
prejudice,
그게
even from her early
그냥 어떻게
childhood.
보면 이
So she was
천부적인
fully
면도
open,
있지만
wide open to
우리는
all
보통
kinds of experiences in the world that she faced. Usually, human beings, we have prejudice and fixated mindsets. So, for example, like we just make judgments that things are dirty, things are bad, or these are good or bad. But I think that the Daehaeng didn't really have this kind of prejudice.
그 대행선사 안뿐만이 아니라 아주 먼 이 지구 끝 또는 그
And
넘어서까지
not just about
이게
her
자유자재로
inner being,
이
even for the
분께서는 이게 이제
outmost
개방성이라고
world,
할까요?
I think
근데 그
she was
개방성이라는
fully open.
자유함이 없이는 그 개방성
And that openness could not be possible without the real freedom. So I think that she really had a real freedom. That's why she was that open to everything or every world that
그런 경험을 하신 게 아닌가.
she faced. That's why I think that she had a very diverse experience.
감사합니다.
Thank you very
교수님의 그
much.
말씀은 저에게 깊은 영감을 주었습니다.
It really gave me
감사합니다.
a inspiration. Thank you.